Passengers don't know it yet, but they are seconds away from experiencing the worst fear of every air traveler.
In December 2013, passengers aboard a small commuter plane in Hawaii lived through what most travelers fear the most: an engine failure over open water. The aircraft, operated by Makani Kai Air, was on a short inter-island flight when disaster struck.
Suddenly, the alarm sounds. The plane is going down, spiraling into the ocean.
In the video, everything appears calm at first, the hum of the engine carrying them forward. But then, an alarm sounds, and when the plane hits the water, panic turns into preparation. The cabin floods quickly, forcing everyone to scramble for the exits. Voices can be heard instructing one another, life vests pulled on, arms out first, clinging to anything that floats. And remarkably, through it all, no one screams. The fear is palpable, but the calm determination to survive is even stronger.
A mad scramble as water fills the inside of the plane. Survivors going for the exits. Clinging to anything they can get their hands on.
Oh, you gotta put it on first before you put it. You have to put it on first. Everybody okay?
For 3 agonizing minutes, the camera keeps rolling as the plane sinks. Passengers gather in the water, clutching debris, waiting for rescue.
It's that 5th time stop, and everything that you remembered in your past, your loved ones and everything, I didn't say goodbye to them. Your whole life just goes in front of you.
Most survived the crash, except for one, Hawaii's Health Department Director, Loretta Fuddy. In the aftermath, one passenger recalled seeing Fuddy overcome with fear, struggling to catch her breath before she lost consciousness. The autopsy would later confirm that she suffered a fatal cardiac arrhythmia brought on by the panic of those final moments. A heartbreaking reminder of how fragile life can be, even after surviving the crash itself. The footage is difficult to watch, not just because of the crash itself, but because of the quiet resilience shown in those final moments inside the cabin. It's a reminder of how fragile every flight is, and how quickly the ordinary can turn into the unthinkable. From survival in the open skies to survival within zoo walls, this next video will show how quickly life can be questioned when humans and animals cross paths. In 2016, the Cincinnati Zoo became the center of worldwide attention after a tragic and highly controversial incident unfolded inside its gorilla enclosure. At the heart of it was Harambe, a 17-year-old male western lowland gorilla, weighing nearly 400 pounds and belonging to a critically endangered species.
A zoo under fire for shooting and killing an endangered gorilla instead of tranquilizing him. After the animal dragged a child around its enclosure, the child had fallen into that enclosure.
It began when a 4-year-old boy slipped through the barriers and fell into the moat. What followed was a scene of chaos, onlookers shouting in fear as Harambe approached the child, put at risk. And this next clip takes us once again into the dangers that unfold when humans and captive animals cross paths. tigers have always carried an aura of mystery and power. Apex predators capable of taking down prey in seconds, yet often placed behind bars or on display, somewhere they obviously don't belong. In the wild, these animals roam vast territories, moving silently through dense forests, their strength unmatched and their presence feared. But in captivity, their world shrinks to enclosures, fences, and performance arenas. For many, seeing a tiger up close feels thrilling, even safe. The steel bars, the distance, or the trainer's calm voice convinces us that control exists. But the truth is far less comforting. A tiger does not forget what it is. Its instincts never fade, no matter how many years it spends in captivity. And when those instincts break through, when even for a second the predator sees an opening, the results can be terrifying. A vet, going about her routine, turns her back for just a moment, and that was all it took. The tiger suddenly lunged, claws reaching through the wire fence to seize her jacket and drag her toward the bars. Of course, panic spread instantly. A colleague rushed in, pulling at the animal's grip, struggling to free her from claws that could end her life in seconds. And miraculously, she was saved, shaken but alive. But the look in her eyes, caught on camera, is one of someone who has just realized how fragile that barrier truly is. And as shocking as that was, imagine facing the same predator without even the wire fence in between. That's exactly what happened in Florida during a performance at the Pensacola. It were two different incidents, two different countries, but the same undeniable truth. Tigers are not pets, not performers, not animals meant to be confined in spaces smaller than their nature demands. These clips remind us of the danger that comes when we convince ourselves otherwise. For the vet at the zoo, it was a warning of how fragile the illusion of safety really is. For the danger emerges in the form of a man whose actions left deputies with only seconds to decide.
Bay County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Weber Road, Weber and 231, South Florida.
Okay, what's going on over there?
There's a guy in a red, maroonish, long-sleeve shirt and black pants with a chain that is walking with a rifle. Not sure of the exact gun. Not even sure if it's BB, but I know a car went to turn off Weber just a second ago, and he took the gun off and pointed it at the car as the car was turning.
In Bay County, Florida, the calm of an early September morning broke when multiple 911 calls came in. Callers reported a man, armed and behaving erratically. Witnesses described him with a handgun and what looked like an assault rifle, later confirmed to be a magazine-fed shotgun.
There's a guy walking down at Weber Road with an assault rifle and found him.
Okay, what is your name?
And
Okay.
I was actually just heading home because this is the same guy that was stalking me at my work yesterday.
The man was identified as 45-year-old Justin Chandler Smith. Just the evening before, deputies had already been called out for a trespassing complaint involving him, where he displayed aggressive behavior. And by the next morning, when a deputy made contact, tensions escalated quickly.
Mr. Smith.
How do you know my name? I didn't give you my name.
I know you didn't.
reached for your gun. It don't work.
Mr. Smith.
I'm not reaching for mine.
I know
reach
you're not.
Reach for yours.
Mr. Smith.
Reach for your
Grab
gun.
that by the strap and put it down, please.
Camera on. I don't see no red
It's
light.
on.
Sure.
Mr. Smith, do you know where you're at?
Yeah.
Where you at?
Bay County. I'm on Edith. No, is this Edith Height? Nope.
It is not.
This is Carolina. Subdivision.
Okay. Can I take that off of you?
Huh?
Can I take that by the strap and get off of you?
You worried about it? You got a gun. You got two of them.
I know. You got two
Why
as
you
well.
want mine? So why you want just one?
Mr. Smith.
Hey, I'm telling you, you touched me, bro. I
Mr.
talked about
Smith.
this shit. Hey, one more. Hey,
grab it. Don't you touch it.
Don't. No fear,
Man, I got one at gunpoint.
No fear.
Put it down. Put it down.
Instead of setting down his shotgun, Smith reached toward a holstered pistol and pulled the gun, pointing it at the officer, and an exchange of gunfire followed.
Bay, shots fired. Drop the gun! Drop it! I need code 3 now. I got shots fired.
Smith fell, but continued firing as the deputy returned shots.
Bay, shots fired. One subject down.
We have this location.
Weber and 231. Back up! Back up!
471, same traffic. 25A, covered. Weber and 231.
That's simple.
Okay, 470 route code 3 from Penny and 231. 40's en route. 6-8 Bay, if we haven't already, fire an EMS around to
Mr. Smith!
When the gunfire stopped, the deputy immediately moved to render aid, beginning CPR until paramedics arrived. Despite those efforts, Smith was later pronounced deceased at the scene. Both the shotgun and the handgun were recovered. Though Smith fired multiple rounds and damaged the deputy's patrol vehicle, no deputies or bystanders were injured. For the community, the incident served as a sobering reminder of how quickly an encounter can escalate and how split-second choices can determine the outcome. In the end, the incident is a stark reminder of how quickly routine calls can spiral out of control and why every encounter with weapons carries consequences not only for officers, but for anyone involved. And while that was a confrontation out in the open, the next story takes us behind closed doors, where danger lurks in forgotten places, long after the crowds have gone. To the heart of downtown Cleveland, where the once grand Rockefeller Building still towers over the city. Once home to prestigious law firms, financial institutions, and bustling offices, it now sits silent, a hollow shell of its former self. In June of 2025, urban explorer Chris, better known as Urbex Hill, stepped inside to see what was left. The building had only been closed since 2022, but already the signs of decay were impossible to ignore. Scrappers had stripped it bare, leaving destruction in their wake, each floor more battered than the last. It was a reminder that time isn't always the greatest threat to a place like this. Sometimes it's the people who come after. Still, curiosity won out, and Chris pressed on. But as the minutes passed, it became clear that exploring here wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous.
Someone must have just recently pissed on the ground right here. That's gross. Wow, those are all bullet holes. The coronavirus. I think this when this place shut down was during the pandemic. Are people really in here shooting? It's a 9mm. That's crazy. It's crazy that places like this with so much detail get destroyed and demolished. Bro, more bullet casings. Look at that. That's crazy.
Signs of gunfire littered the building, a chilling discovery that hinted at what kind of activity had been happening inside. The thought was enough to make anyone turn back, yet for Chris, it only sharpened his focus.
is that? That's crazy.
On the rooftop, he paused to take in the skyline, an odd moment of calm in the middle of unease. But that peace didn't last. Strange noises began echoing through the structure, pulling him back into tension. With evidence of scrappers and the unsettling signs of weapons being used here, every creak of the building carried weight.
Somebody's been up here recently. Smells like cigarettes in here. Somebody's pills. They ripped the label off. Somebody was like using needles up here too, it looks like. Somebody's here. I heard something. I wonder if that was somebody.
Each sound pressed against his nerves. Were they just from outside, or from someone else inside the building with him? Chris couldn't be sure, but he kept moving, his steps deliberate, knowing that one wrong turn could mean walking straight into danger.
I started hearing a lot of noise coming from the stairwell nearby on the 9th floor, multiple voices and what sounded like music playing from a cell phone. So I quickly pressed record on my camera and turned my light off just in case they were hostile. Unfortunately, the camera audio was cutting in and out during the entire exploration, and it failed to capture the sound during this part. While sitting quietly in the dark, I listened, and they sounded like they might be fellow urban explorers. So I turned my light on and went to the stairwell to see who they were. When I got to the door, I unintentionally scared a woman that was with the group, and she screamed and ran up the stairs yelling, "Help." That's when one of the guys racked his gun and shouted, "Who's down there?" I replied that I was just taking pictures of the building. It quickly became clear they weren't explorers, they were scrappers, and they were also using drugs while stripping the place. They began yelling and threatening to shoot me if I didn't leave. I started arguing back at them, saying I have a gun too, and that they needed to relax. After a bit of tense back and forth, I told them I'm leaving soon and I won't bother them. I then left the stairwell and went down the hall to a different stairwell so I could get to the lower section of the building to get away from them. As I walked away, I could hear what sounded like at least 4 people yelling and cussing about me being there. One of them was even talking about me. This whole interaction made me pretty nervous, especially considering the number of bullet holes and shell casings I had already found scattered throughout the building. It was clear that these scrappers come here often, and were mad that I was in there, and it wouldn't surprise me if they fire off rounds to scare off explorers or anyone else who enters the building. Anyways, I just continued to explore the lower levels of the building, hoping they stay in the upper levels.
This place is crazy. Completely flooded.
We can only admire the nerve it takes to keep exploring under that kind of pressure. He chose to finish what he came for, even as the tension grew with every step. In the end, Chris managed to make it out unseen and unharmed. But the weight of that day lingers, in his memory and for anyone watching. Exploring places like this isn't just about what you might discover. It's about how quickly a quiet moment can shift into something life-threatening. But not every fight for survival happens in a city. In the next clip, one wrong turn into the desert left a young woman facing a life-threatening experience.
It was a road trip gone horribly wrong. A young woman lost in the Arizona desert for 5 days, filming her struggle to survive on her cell phone right up until the moment she thought she would never see her loved ones again.
I love my family, Mom, Dad, Kaylee.
Recording a goodbye video to loved ones, something no one expects they'll ever have to do.
I just want to go home. I don't even want to do this trip anymore. I'm so scared.
It was supposed to be the road trip of a lifetime. 3,000 miles across the American West, from Texas to the Grand Canyon. But for 24-year-old Amber Van Heck, a wrong turn in the Arizona desert became a fight for survival. What began as a carefree drive to see turquoise waterfalls and remote trails turned into a nightmare of isolation, thirst, and dwindling hope. Trusting her GPS, Amber left the main road and followed a dirt path deeper into the emptiness. But by the time she realized the mistake, her gas tank was nearly empty.
As night falls on March 12th, Amber says she drives another hour and a half deeper into the middle of nowhere.
When I came to the fence and I was like, oh, there wasn't a road here, that's when I was like, this is not good. That's when I tried going into the GPS app and telling it to take me back. And it was like, sorry, you have no internet service.
For a brief moment, she's able to get cell service and immediately calls 911.
I was in such a panic state. When they said, what is the nature of your emergency? I just let out a sob and I said, please help me. And I heard it drop and I just...
With no cell service for her Google navigation app, Amber is about to lose a second precious resource.
The sun set over miles of nothingness, and with no way to call for help, she pulled over beside the first man-made structure she could find.
Hoping a sign of life will appear in the morning, she begins documenting her ordeal.
Hopefully it doesn't take too long to be found.
She's actually stranded on one of the largest cattle ranches in Arizona, run by Gary Wilson.
It has happened to several other people trying to get across this ranch. Google Earth tells you that you can, but this ranch is actually closed.
A cowboy usually patrols the area where Amber's parked, but again, Amber was out of luck.
He was gone for about 5 days, and that just happened to be the time that she was out here.
Planes and helicopters passed overhead, but none saw her.
The helicopter just flew by. I got out of my car and waved as frantically as I could, but I guess up there it's hard to notice.
She built fires, spelled H-E-L-P in huge letters with rocks, and tried to stay calm as her strength faded. Alone in one of the largest ranches in Arizona, she drew on old Girl Scout skills to stay alive, even as her body and spirit began to fail.
3 bottles a day should last me for at least a week and a half.
It's now Wednesday, March 15th, and Amber plans to stay put until help arrives.
I'm not here for 63 hours now.
Back in Texas, Dad begins an active hunt for his daughter.
I posted in the private Facebook, I said, look, my daughter's missing. I need some people to try to find her, and this is the last place I saw her.
The problem? Stephen references Amber's last known location in New Mexico, where her app pinged him back on Saturday.
By the 4th day, Amber's hope of being found had dimmed until a truck came by.
I had immediately jumped out of my car and tried to run after them, not thinking about my feet, not thinking about anything else, because I was like, if this is where I get out, it doesn't matter. Just tried to chase down a truck, but they didn't see me in their rear view. I'm okay.
Barefoot and exhausted, she chased it down but was unseen. That night, she recorded how much she missed her parents, admitting she didn't want to be alone anymore.
Almost exactly 100 hours out here now, and all I can keep thinking is how much I want my daddy. Mom, I don't want to be alone anymore.
With no search teams in sight, she made a desperate decision. She would walk 11 miles toward a cell tower she could just barely see in the distance. Dialing 911 more than 70 times, Amber finally made contact, just enough for rescuers to piece together where she might be.
I started crying and saying, please help me.
She tells the operator she's somewhere between Havasu Park and the highway that goes into the Southern Rim Visitor Center.
And she's like, in the Grand Canyon. I was like, no, ma'am, I'm in the desert. I've been here for 5 days. And I don't know what she was going to say after that because it was gone.
Just like that, the call dropped.
I was just heartbroken, I guess, in that moment.
She doesn't know it.
We had a virtually unreadable 911 call, no location, woman who's panicking.
But she provided just enough information to point Arizona's Department of Public Safety in the right direction.
Using her clues, an Arizona Department of Public Safety helicopter flew over the desert, spotting her abandoned car and the massive "help" spelled in stones.
And I look down and we see the must have been like 20, 30-foot letters, the word "help" written out of rocks on the ground next to the car, and we're like, this has got to be it.
They land their chopper, but Amber's not there. But the rescue team doesn't give up hope, because Amber wisely had left this message.
Said, I'm not here. I walked east along the road to find cell phone signal. If you're reading this sign, please help me. And Jonah said, let's go. We loaded up and continued down the road from there.
And then I heard a chopper again. And that's when I saw the speck getting bigger.
And I look and I see someone jumping up and down in the road, waving at us.
And I was like, they're coming for me.
After 5 days alone in the desert, Amber Van Heck was finally found. She collapsed into the arms of her rescuers, sobbing with relief as they flew her to a hospital in Flagstaff. Amber later said she made mistakes, like underfueling her car, but also credited her preparation and calm thinking for keeping her alive. Her ordeal is more than a survival story. It's a cautionary tale about how quickly a trip can turn dangerous and how even small choices, enough gas, a paper map, telling someone your route, can mean the difference between life and death. And if the desert showed how unforgiving land can be, the next video reminds us how quickly disaster strikes at sea, when fire and water collide. The crossing was supposed to be routine. The KM Barcelona VA, a passenger ferry traveling between the Talaud Islands and the provincial capital of Manado, carried hundreds of people across the waters of North Sulawesi. Families, fishermen, students, ordinary travelers expecting nothing more than another long day under the Indonesian sun. But routine turned into catastrophe in an instant.
Barcelona 5A, kebakaran di depan Pulau Talise. Mohon pihak yang monitor ini, kami mohon bantuan. Saat ini kapal kebakaran.
Smoke began curling upward from the upper deck, thin at first, then thicker by the second. Within minutes, the flames spread, racing across the vessel. Shouts rang out, some pleading for help, others calling desperately for life jackets. Then came the screams, raw and panicked, as passengers realized the fire could not be contained. From the water, the view was harrowing. The ferry was swallowed in flames, its structure glowing as fire devoured everything in sight. Passengers leapt into the sea, some clutching children, others huddling in groups as they drifted. The ocean, once the backdrop to a simple voyage, had become the only place left to escape.
Ya Allah, baru mau masuk Manado. Sebagian Solala kita. Allah. Oh, makasih Om. Kenapa sana kapal terbakar? Dan puji Tuhan, Ner, Tante, Abi, Prisil, orang semua selamat.
Rescue efforts surged almost immediately. The Indonesian Navy, Coast Guard, and even local fishermen raced toward the wreck. Inflatable boats wove between the waves, pulling survivors out one by one. Many surfaced exhausted but alive. Others would not. Among the victims was a pregnant woman. A 2-month-old infant was hauled from the sea barely breathing, his lungs filled with water, but saved in time. In the aftermath, officials confirmed at least 3 lives lost, dozens injured, and over 500 survivors pulled from the water, far more than the official manifest had listed. The numbers raised urgent questions about overcrowding and safety standards, but those answers would come later. In the moment, all that remained was the sight of the KM Barcelona burning against the horizon and the memory of voices crying through the smoke. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Whether mechanical failure or negligence, no one can say for certain. But for those who survived, the memories are impossible to erase. The crackle of fire above the waves, the cries of strangers in the dark water, and the desperate race to live through the chaos. The ferry never reached its destination. Instead, it became a chilling reminder of how quickly fire and water can converge into disaster, where survival depends not on certainty but on seconds, blind chance, and the courage of those who risk everything to save others. But not every tragedy is about survival. The last story is about a choice, a decision to keep filming where the camera should have stopped, and the outrage that followed.
That parenting alert about one of the most popular stars on YouTube. Outrage is growing overnight about a video Logan Paul posted overnight.
At the base of Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara Forest, a place known around the world for its tragic reputation. Also known as the Suicide Forest, it is a site where countless people have gone in search of silence, leaving behind grief and questions for those they leave. It was here, in late 2017, that YouTuber Logan Paul and his friends set out to film what they called a haunted forest exploration. But what they captured was something far more serious.
Hey, I really hate to say this. I think there's someone hanging right there. I'm not even fucking kidding. Do you see it? I'm not even, this isn't a fucking joke, guys! That's a fucking person! No. Dude, I told you.
No. I think you're right. Oh my god.
No. Dude, what the heck?
Camera, let's go.
What the heck? I've never seen a dead person.
You haven't?
No, bro. Oh, what the fuck am I looking at?
Oh my god, he's hanging.
Bro, did we just find a dead person in the suicide forest hanging?
A man's body was hanging among the trees. Instead of stopping, instead of putting the cameras down, the group continued to film, their shock quickly turning into nervous laughter and even jokes. The identity of the man remained unknown, but the video did not. Within hours, it spread across YouTube, climbing into the millions of views before outrage poured in from all corners of the world. For many, the reaction was the same: disrespectful, disturbing, and a line that should never have been crossed. Paul would later apologize, first on Twitter and then in a video, admitting he had been misguided by shock and awe, and stating plainly, "I should have never posted the video. I should have put the cameras down and stopped recording." YouTube itself came under fire for its slow response, with critics asking why it took 10 days for the platform to publicly address what had happened. The video was ultimately removed, not by YouTube, but by Paul himself. And that decision only fueled more criticism, with many feeling the platform should have acted sooner and more decisively. The incident remains one of the most infamous controversies in YouTube's history. Beyond the scandal, it sparked an uncomfortable reflection on where the line lies between content and exploitation, entertainment and respect, and whether shock can ever be an excuse when real human loss is involved. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.